Now we have the pleasure to introduce Natalia Orlova. She is the head of Department of English and Associate Professor of TEFL at the Faculty of Education of the University of Purkyně in the Czech Republic. She has also worked at Herzl State Pedagogical University in St. Petersburg, Russia, and has presented papers at various TESOL conventions in the USA. Natalia is also co-author of a number of textbooks for school and university students. Her main research interests include ways of developing pre-service EFL teachers, professional competence, and cross-cultural issues.
Thank you, Elena. Hello, everyone again. In this project, I'm privileged to present the Czech Republic, and I'm doing so together with school teachers, job shadowers, who are today present in this hall. And there's also a representative of my university, Dr. Pavlikova, who unfortunately cannot be present today, but I still have to mention her because we have been in this project for 3 years together. So far, you have heard from my dear partners about approach adopted by the team to plurilingualism. You have also learned that within this approach there's been now huge work designing training modules, and Laura has just presented the modules very quickly, but they are very interesting. And these modules were tried out in real life. And these modules were delivered to students, teachers, and teachers. So today, my job is, it reminds me of an old English saying. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. It can be interpreted as you don't know the quality of something until you have tried it or experienced it. It's really a good way to my presentation, and not only because my presentation is the last one before lunch break. But really, no matter what we as project members and project designers think about the training modules, still the last word, if not the last word, but we need to hear to the voices of those who participated in the training modules. So today I'll share with you very shortly and briefly just some important ideas we got when we asked our pre-service and in-service teachers who participated in the project to react and provide us with their feedback. So feedback on the training problem. But just a few words about, though Laura has in a very interesting way introduced Lithuania and showed the languages, and she also demonstrated her perfect Polish. I'm really impressed. What about the countries which are participants in this project? What about their linguistic profile? In fact, when we started this project, I have to confess that some of the participants, like representatives of the Czech Republic and Poland, we were kind of skeptical, saying that, excuse me, what plurilingualism are we talking about? Our classes are homogeneous, monolingual. But you see that in 3 years the situation has changed dramatically. Still, in my presentation, here I still would like to show you a bit of linguistic profile first, and here I refer to the data which can be found on trustworthy and respectful ethnologue site. First, about principal language. What is the principal language? The language that functions at the national level as a working language. And we found out when I compared Turkey, Poland, the Czech Republic, Spain, and Lithuania that we have lots in common. And first of all, we have one and the same principal language. That's what unites us. And you can see the explanation of principal language. Another thing which we do have in common is approximate number of immigrant languages. And if you are curious and you open ethnologue, by the way, can you hear me like that, or should I? Okay. Is it better now, or? Okay. Spoken relatively recently, a large population. So these are things which we do have in common. At the same time, if we look at diversity index, we find out that, or what diversity index is explained as the probability that any two people of the country selected at random would have different mother tongue. So out of the participant countries, the least linguistically diversified countries are Poland and the Czech Republic. So you understand why we as partners at first seemed a bit iffy, but we're extremely enthusiastic now, believe me. The leading place in the issues in question is taken by Turkey, with a diversity index 0.394, followed by Lithuania and Spain. Certainly this information presented by ethnologue becomes outdated very quickly due to dramatic changes and influx of refugees, and we all know about it. It only proves that such projects as TC4PI are necessary, and they do have huge importance. So let's get back to the training modules and to whom they were delivered. Certainly to our wonderful student teachers, and here again, this is my hello to Berlin and Zuhal, another partner, because Berlin was always addressing her students in school, my dearest, wonderful, beautiful, and lots of other attributes. So here we need to refer to student teachers, and student teachers who participated in this project were students in initial training at university in Czech Republic, in Lithuania, and in Valladolid. At the same time, we could not leave our network without in-service teachers. That's why the center, which is in Valladolid, was instructing and educating in-service teachers, center in Poland and in Turkey. So, when you have the training model and you have to finally analyze it, what to do, what to start with, certainly we follow the following structure as we have to identify the evaluation purpose, we have to design the evaluation tool, we have to collect and organize the data, we have to analyze and interpret it. I'm not going to upload you with all this stuff, but I just would like to mention the following important issues. So, while working out a tool for evaluation, we focused on the following thing. We wanted to know if those who participated in the training modules were satisfied. We wanted to know their views on the content of the training program. We wanted to learn if the organization of the program was relevant to them, as well as the materials used for such a training were appropriate, and usefulness of what they've learned for their future teaching. When we designed this particular tool, these foci were reflected in the following questions. How do you rate the contents of the training sessions? And student teachers or the participants were asked to select from 1 as poor and 10 excellent. And one of the questions was rephrased as follows. Do you think training modules contents contribute to the understanding of plurilingualism in a school context? How do you rate the organization? How do you rate the materials? And do you find the activities presented in the module applicable to your teaching? On this part of this slide, you can see some graph. Sorry, I'm not putting interesting photos in my presentation. You see only some of the graphs. And if you look at the graph, you may see that the highest satisfaction of those who underwent through the training was expressed with organization of the training, followed by applicability in class, content and materials. The final questionnaire also contained questions which wanted us to see if, in fact, when we sign up for a training, we all have our expectations. If there is a course and I'm thinking, should I take it up or shouldn't take it up, I do have specific expectations. So we also were interested to get to know if our student teachers and teachers had particular expectations, and if so, if their expectations had been met. That's why in the second questionnaire, which was used as summative evaluation, there were the following questions concerning all the training modules. We wanted to know what they expected from the modules, and here you can see the options they could choose. But at the same time, they could choose more than one option, and the next slide will show you their expectations. And here we can see that teachers are very pragmatic, because the expectation of what they really wanted to get from the module, probably I should ask without showing this, and you could guess. Ideas for teaching. Ideas for teaching, this is number one. It was mentioned in all of their questionnaires. We were pleased to learn that learning from colleagues was also highly valued. This learning from colleagues, no matter what I know, I'm still open to what others know. And this is really a wonderful feature of motivated teachers. Some of them mentioned teacher development and sharing my experience, and here it's also interesting to see that getting solutions was marked as the least looked for, which also show that teachers are open-minded and they would prefer to find solutions themselves and not to wait that someone is going to give it on a silver plate. Okay. Teachers certainly value their time, and it's interesting to know if they, after these 8 modules, they found this course useful or not useful. That's why there were questions where we wanted to know if the course was relevant, and if they're going to, first of all, if what they learned in course, they're going to implement in the language classroom. At the same time, it was interesting to know if they would like to recommend this to other colleagues. And I have to share with you what we got as a feedback. Though we got, do you find the training useful for your future teaching? Positive answer was written in every questionnaire that were received by us, 100% participants. At the same time, and I still don't know the answer, 5%, 2 out of 46, said no, I'm not going to recommend, but they did not explain their point of view. That's why it's a sort of a question, how I can interpret this. At the same time, because all participants were invited to write freely comments, if it is yes, why? And in all the there will be plenty of comments, and I can categorize them, or I can say that in majority of questionnaires, such words, keywords, phrases, attributes as inspiring, I would recommend this course. It was inspiring. This course was useful and eye-opening. This course brought deeper insight, and it is useful to know how to deal with a student from a different country. You can see that really applicability, and if it is important for further teaching. Still, the longest comment to this question, do you find the training useful? The longest comment here is worth being read, though the language of the original is preserved. I would like to articulate this comment because it sums up all mentioned arguments and therefore perfectly represents the opinions of the participating teachers. Quote, I strongly recommend those training sessions to my colleagues because it helps me to widen my perspective on being aware of cultural variety and how to use it in class activities. In addition to this, I had a chance to share ideas with colleagues who are teaching to different age groups about developing a lesson plan in a plurilinguistic context. Since this project and the modules, part of it was developing plurilingual competence and certainly making teachers aware what plurilingualism is. It's not just knowledge, not skill, it's value and competence. We also were interested if the course deepened the participants' knowledge on these issues. And we also asked if they feel better prepared. We were interested if they plan to integrate activities, and that's why we developed the plurilingual competence of their students into their teaching, and again, usefulness of the content. So here you can see the final over average of points to the questions. Do you believe that the training contributed to your understanding of plurilingualism? Is the content of the training useful to your teaching purposes? Do you feel better prepared to deal with issues linked to plurilingualism? And do you plan to integrate? So the ratings in the slide again show that understanding has dramatically increased, as well as feeling of preparedness. It's always important that if I feel more convinced and secure to deal with different diversity of students in my class, the better for me as a teacher. Certainly planning, integrate, and again, usefulness of the content. When we were doing this survey and getting back the questionnaires, we also asked student teachers and teachers to write freely, because frankly for me their free comments are precious, and they always give me much more. From this feedback I get much more than just from numerical different types of scales. Introducing plurilingual approaches considerably broadens the pool of activities that teachers can apply in language lessons, as it brings a wider scope of education to the class. So, the analysis of the comments I liked best, I experienced and I realized can be classified or somehow grouped as follows. First of all, out from these comments it was possible to infer that teachers are practice-oriented, and they proved in their feedbacks, they let us know that these modules help them in their practice. We could find like warm-ups to be used in class, the examples of situations which they valued and that can be used in class, sharing activities and so on and so forth. Still, for me as a teacher educator, probably the most valuable moment in their comments was what I call shift in teacher personality or identity. The certain shift that they have developed, they have changed. And in this slide you can see such confessions that they observed the shift. I observed shifts in my own way of thinking. One participant wrote, understanding of plurilingual. And there was also a comment which is stated here, under the layer of my prejudices is hidden the real personality of a person. So the person who wrote this confessed that he or she has prejudices, and please put up your hands those who is completely free. We all have a certain extent of ethnocentricity, which, well, I express no prejudice. But I have improved my own understanding of different types of people, accepting otherness, being aware of diversity, like races and languages. When someone organizes, I still have time, fine. When someone organizes training, it's not about just teaching. For me, teaching is learning. I always learn when I teach. And on my last slide, I would like to share with you what we have learned. And this is first from us that again and again I found out, and I got more and more convinced that student teachers and teachers value personal interaction. And no matter how hard we play a focus and emphasis on reading theory, reading theoretical books, yes, it's important, it prepares them, but they learn more through interaction, by interaction, while talking, while discussing, while interacting, and thus they develop. Another issue which I would like, which I've learned and realized again and again, that I found, well, I got more convinced that teachers do realize that they have to face the challenges of plurilingual classes. Last but not least, though these are only some things that I'm presenting, I'm absolutely sure and convinced that plurilingual training has to be an integral part of initial teacher training. Probably it has to be even moved to post-secondary. Not probably, it has to move. But first, if we speak about competence and competence approach, it has to be integral part of student teaching. I would like to, and by the way, here I would like also to mention the keynote in the speech where our guest was speaking about operating, I put it down when you said operating between languages and language cultures. I fully agree, language cultures, but probably if we speak about multicultural, plurilingualism, we should speak operating among language cultures. This project supplied me with lots of food for thought and reflection. It cannot bring to all of us ready-made recipes. It cannot give just answers to the questions that life is imposing every day. That's why I find the immortal poems by Garcia Lorca, Federico Garcia Lorca, sorry if I mispronounced, really modern and due to life. He wrote, I know there is no straight road in this world, only a giant labyrinth of interesting crossroads. And the end of this project is just another interesting crossroads. And I would greatly appreciate if you can find these words in Spanish. Thank you very much for your attention.